Hello, dear salut, annyeonghaseyo. This is Riki from rikilikemagic, and she says hi. So part two. So we're going to be talking a little bit more, just basically tips of my time in Korea, and hopefully I can like insert a ton of footage for you to look at and a couple of stories of my own experiences over there. I just wanted to be as informative as possible rather than just me going, it's so amazing, you have to go. That's what I wanted this video to be, information and knowledge and love. Now, tip number 8, subway system. Subway system, just get yourself a card, a tappy card. I was given one by a friend, so I think you just get them from any newsagents. I don't really know where you're supposed to get them. She just gave me an extra one. But I think you just get them from any convenience store. The subway system is amazing. It's so easy to follow. Once you get the hang of it. If anybody is from London or has been to London, it really reminds me of the tube system. It's so simple. You just know your stop and you look for your stop. Like, it'll tell you the major stops and which way if you want to go up the tracks, you go this way. If you want to go down the tracks, you go this way. Or north or south or east or west, and it's this way. Following your stop name, you'll come down the stairs to your platform, and then it'll have on a pillar like, it's this platform for this stop, or all of these stops, and it's this platform for all of these stops. It is so easy. Like, lads, I cannot describe to you how bad I am directionally, and I was fine. Don't be worrying about it. And if you do get stuck or if you have no idea what's happening, I'm sure there's a couple of YouTube videos explaining it, but really, like, that was a big worry for me, and it's really easy. I also recommend an app, 2 apps. One is called Subway, which isn't interactive, it's just a map that you can kind of pull your way around and see the stops and things like that. Or Kakao Metro is another app you can use, and that actually routes out if you give them the starting subway and the second one, it tells you where you need to change and things like that and transfer and stuff like that. So Kakao Metro is really good too. Those are 2 apps that I used in my time there, and they were very helpful. So yeah, those are all of my tips. If there are any questions you have about any extra things, let me know. When I was thinking about this, I couldn't really think of anything else practically, but if I've missed a gaping hole in something, just let me know. Any questions that you have, I'd be happy to help. Now I'm just gonna gush about the place. One of my friends, she didn't want to hear the whole month, obviously, and she was like, what was the most negative thing about Seoul? What was the most positive thing about Seoul? Which I thought were 2 great questions, because she just kind of wanted, to know what I loved the most and what I hated the most. My most positive experiences were the food and the people. I miss the food so much. I am sad every day that there's just bread and potatoes in this country, and pasta. The variety of herbs and roots and vegetables that I had never heard of. The food is amazing in Korea. It just blows my mind. Like, I thought sushi and Japanese food was my favorite type of food, but it's Korean food, like, without a doubt. I love vegetables, and the amazing amount of vegetables that they have. It just feels like food is as much a part of them as their language, and it just seems like such a root to their culture. It doesn't feel like I'm just having a meal there. It feels like I'm tasting a part of their history or something. I know that's really cheesy, but yeah, I just bowled over by the food. Like, I didn't have a burger or anything the whole time I was there, because it was just like, something Korean, give me something Korean. I'd say maybe 2 or 3 years ago, could not handle spicy food at all. It was embarrassing. I just put chilies in everything now, just a little bit of chili in everything. So I thought I was still going to find everything really spicy, but I didn't. If you eat red chilies in things and are fine, then you'll be fine. But Korean people think that you cannot handle any spice whatsoever. So it's always like, it's very spicy now, it's okay, it's very spicy. And I had one friend of mine actively ask them to make it less spicy, and they just ruined the dish. Like, even if I had found it hot, I would have preferred it to be spicy and like me drinking water than to like stop it being tasty. So it's really not that spicy, I think. And then the people are just amazing. I've never experienced such a welcoming committee. I am a firm believer as well, you get what you put in. So I was extremely present and curious with everyone that I met, and I didn't just want to hang out with foreign people. I wanted to hang out with Korean people, even if I had no idea what they were saying or we couldn't speak to each other properly. It's a huge fear of mine, and I wanted to make myself uncomfortable that way. A lot of hard work, but so rewarding, because it restores your faith in humanity so much that it's like, I am on the other side of the world. I stand out like a sore thumb, and you still want to make sure that I am okay and safe and happy, and you don't even know me. I heard it somewhere that it's a collectivist culture or collectivist mindset, whereas we're from an individualist mindset. And while there are pros and cons to being one or the other, what comes from a collectivist society is that people are used to sharing and taking care of other people, like even if you're a stranger. I mean, I'm not saying like I would say 1% of the people that I met were very rude. 1%, like I'm talking maybe 2 or 3 people. But I think that is because they thought I couldn't speak Korean, because I got really flustered and I stopped. And I just didn't speak any Korean. I think that hurt my chances a little bit. But on the whole, just amazing people. You're gonna get rude people everywhere. On the other side of it, I've never, in any of the countries that I've traveled to, have met such a high level of nice and kind. So those are my 2 biggest positives in Seoul, were the food and the people. The biggest negative, and this is a huge negative for me, was the pollution. The pollution was really awful, and I think I'm particularly sensitive to it or something, because I was really badly affected. Because when I talked to other foreigners, I was like, was it this bad for you when you moved? And they're like, oh, I remember my nose running a lot and it hurt for a while, but then it stopped. It did not stop for me. So I didn't wear a mask for the first 2 weeks, and I also didn't have the apps that told me about the pollution in the air for the first 2 weeks. But everyone heard about the fine dust that was coming for a couple of days. There was a fine dust warning. It's particularly tiny particles that you will definitely breathe in. Everyone needs to wear a mask, but nobody wears a mask over there. In the fine dust weather for about 2 or 3 days, I still didn't wear a mask because I just didn't understand the importance of it. And my sinuses swelled and my eyes started to hurt, and my neck actually got bigger. It just swelled because it was in so much pain, and it felt like I didn't have a cough, it just felt like my throat was being scratched at and burned from the inside. And it was so bad. It was so bad. For me, it's a very heavy negative. My mental health and my physical health are my biggest priorities, and it really affected my health. It was really bad. So then I found the right mask and my symptoms went away. But for the entire month, even when I wore masks every day, okay, this may be too much information, so close your ears if you don't want to hear this. I had dry blood in my nose for the entire month, and I needed to blow my nose all of the time, and it was just blood, dry blood for the entire month. So that's a little worrying, and it went away like within 24 hours of me coming back to Ireland. I took clean air for granted until I went over there. And so a couple of practical tips for you guys. You need to get masks, and you can get masks anywhere. Like, you can just get the normal ones that you see regularly if you watch your idols and things like that. They do not filter. If you're anything like me and really sensitive, they do not filter properly. So I was walking to all these beauty shops trying to find the ones. I did some research on the masks that you need, and you need ones with a certification of K94 or N94 or K99 or N99. 94% of the particles are filtered, or 99% of the particles are filtered. And they're about 3,001 for one, and they're disposable, and you're only supposed to use them for 24 hours, which I'm like, oh. Get masks, get proper masks, and you can't get them really in beauty shops, because like there's makeup shops that kind of sell a bit of a mask everywhere. I couldn't find the ones with the higher filter ratings for ages, and I didn't ask anyone properly because I thought, oh, it'll be easy to find them. So I started asking mask, where's the mask, in Korean to these random people in the beauty shops, and they kept saying the word yakguk, yakguk, over and over again. I was like, what is that? Hearing it, I tried to see it in the Hangul, like in their alphabet, like what it would look like. So I was like, okay, and I went for a wander, and a yakguk is a pharmacy, it's a drugstore, and that's where they have the good masks. So I will put the characters, or I'll put them either here on the video, or I'll put them in the description box below, because if you look for those characters, there are pharmacies everywhere, and you can get good masks and proper masks that like cover your entire face and don't let air in and take care of you. And you need them if you are like me. There's also 2 apps that I used while I was there to know the pollution in the air every day. The one that is used in China and Asia and Koreans use it is called AirguardK. But I did more research after getting that app because I was still finding, like, they were saying that it's okay for me to not wear a mask that day, and I was still getting very sick or just scratchy and in pain. I did a little bit more research and I found that the Asian standard for air pollution is different to the American one. So I got an American app called Airvisual, and they have a higher standard of pollution. Now, I'm not saying that either is right. I'm just saying that I am hypersensitive clearly, and I get sick from it really easily. So I got the one with the higher standard. When it was over 100, I wore a mask, and even when it was coming up to 90 and 100, I wore a mask. But they say that, like, kind of over 120, you know, like if it's really over 100, people need to start wearing masks. So yeah, be careful, and make good choices and take care of your health, because most of them don't wear masks over there. I mean, obviously they built up an immunity, but it really affected me. So just other little observations that I'd like to share. I would recommend that you just walk around. Excuse me. I would recommend that you just walk around Seoul. You can take the subway everywhere. You know, you don't see as much. I don't know, I really like getting to know how a city changes from street to street, and like goes into a more wealthy part, or goes into a more historical part, or goes into like a water feature, things like that. So I just walked everywhere if I could. I stayed in an area called Haehwa, and it is beautiful, and I would live there if I could. It's kind of this lovely balance of historical and young and modern, and it's wonderful, and it has a really nice walk along the ancient wall of Seoul. It takes a while to walk places, but not as long as you would think, like, and it's always really interesting. Or, you know, to hop a subway and then walk from there somewhere. It's a really cool city. I mean, sometimes I went on the most boring walks and they were like an hour long of just boring, like, industrial stuff, but I was just happy that I even saw that to be like, okay, cool, I won't go there again. Drivers are crazy. Be careful. There's pedestrian crossings everywhere, which is amazing, but you have to have the will of a giant. I don't know why I said giant, but you have to have the will to walk, because there will be cars going, no, they're not waiting for the pedestrian whatsoever. And then I was only in a car with someone once while they were driving, and it was just crazy, like barely indicating and just kind of weaving in and out and going super fast, and there's just no rules. So be super careful. And finally, I visited Busan as well. I managed to stay there for 2 days, and I used couch surfing, so I didn't even have to pay for accommodation. There's wonderful people down there who are ready to give you some help on the couch surfing website. And I prefer Seoul as a city, but I definitely recommend going to Busan. It was so nice to see the sea. It was so beautiful. And then the cultural village there, like, you could spend hours in that place. I was like, oh, I'm ready to go now, and there was another little street that I could find, and it's residential as well, like people live there, so you have to be really quiet and you have to be respectful and not go everywhere, but people live in that incredible place. I'm so glad that I got to see somewhere else in Korea, but I definitely would like to see villages and towns and countryside of Korea, because I really saw the very dense city life of Korea mainly. Yeah, I think I've talked for enough, and I'm sure I missed out on loads, and I'd say the footage that I'm going to be putting up as well I mightn't necessarily have talked about what it is, but I hope you still enjoyed the scenery and the food and the shots that I have, just to kind of colour this, and it's not just me talking the whole time. So thank you for listening and for watching, and I hope it helps in your prep to go to Korea, or just to hear about what it's like. I hope it was interesting, and I hope it was fun to watch. If you enjoyed this video, you can like, you can subscribe, you can ring the little bell that gives you all the notifications, you can share it with your friends, you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and Snapchat. Remember, you are who you choose to be, and I'm very glad I chose to go to Seoul. And Shibi says bye.